a hobby, something that you do for fun, for pleasure, in your leisure time. Well, if you're retired and you're cruising, probably boating in one way or the other is certainly a passion of yours. So do you really need something else when you're cruising? Hi, I'm Nika Waters, and welcome to the Boat Galley Podcast. Today, I'm talking about how making time and space for hobbies on board enhances our entire cruising experience. Today's episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Teak Guard. Looking to refinish your boat's teak with a minimum of mess and fuss? Look no further. Teak Guard's non-toxic, water-based formulas for cleaning and finish will turn your teak from dingy to sparkling in no time. Use coupon code BG20 for 15% off your order of $50 or more. Visit allguardproducts.com and admire your teak with less maintenance. You too can be talking like Robert Villa from Rica, Georgia, who says, "You're right, it's the best product for teak on the market." There are those who find great joy and use their boat as a hobby by itself. They will spend hours and days using things like Teak Guard and other kinds of boat finishes to make their boats look incredible. And sure, there are lots of hobbies like that are part and parcel of your cruising life. And many things that aren't exactly related to the living on a boat and moving it from place to place, but things that you find enjoyment in. We've got a couple of different ones that we focus on Calypso. Sometimes in order to create a new hobby or start a new hobby, you need to find space, like physical space on board, to get the stuff and carry it with you. Jeremy has been intrigued by kite surfing for a long time. He's an avid windsurfer and a long-term windsurfer. Actually, that's how I met him, he was windsurfing for UVA and I started to join the sailing team. Our winter in the Eastern Caribbean a couple years ago on Calypso, though, showcased foil boarding as an alternative. One of the things with kite surfing is that though the equipment isn't super huge, you often need a really good space to be able to lay out the kite and to make sure the lines are all set and that's ready to go. You also need a place where you're not going to get the kite tangled up in rigging. And he really loved the idea of foil boarding. And he jumped on the idea particularly after talking to one enthusiast who showed off his inflatable board and the relatively small space that it needed for storage aboard. So Jeremy bought a full kit from Gong, which is a French company, and he decided that was going to be his focus this past winter in the Bahamas. Learn to foil. And after a total of about 7 sessions on the board, he's able to reliably get up and out of the water. Yeah, jibes are not quite done yet. He's got those still on the to be mastered list, but man, was it fun seeing him so excited about his progress and seeing him enjoying the water in a totally different way. Making physical space for the whole kit took a little bit of organizing. It is not as hard as some other ones because it's an inflatable board and so it can stow down pretty compactly. And the wing is also inflatable. The foil itself is a rigid piece of metal that needs to be carefully stowed. It's carbon, so we want to make sure it doesn't get too many dings on it. We did decide that we needed to take off our stand-up paddleboard, mostly because this past winter, we were on Mischief, different storage spaces, really sort of a last-minute push to get ready to go, and it was just easier to do that than try to find space for all that stuff in a storage area that we're not quite as familiar with as we are in the one on Calypso. We will definitely take the paddleboard with us when we get back aboard Calypso. Also, the foil kit is coming with us. My main hobbies are reading and writing. I don't need extra gear for those. But as I referred to a little bit earlier, space isn't just physical. So we needed to come up with this physical space for Jeremy's foil boarding. I've talked about wanting to pick up watercolor, but I'm not sure I would necessarily have the space, although I think it's a pretty small kit. But the other things with hobbies and the space that they need, their time, you need time, and you also need the mental space and the mental aspect. You might be questioning why Jeremy only got in 7 sessions. We were in the Bahamas for 3 months. Why weren't you on that board every day? You should have gotten in I don't know, 3 times 30, you should have gotten in at least 70 sessions. But there were things like moving the boat and working on the boat, and those were at odds with setting up the board and going foiling. We also had numerous days in good anchorages where the wind was either too light or too heavy. So understanding that your hobby may take different kinds of space in order to make it happen is important. And for me, with writing in particular, I'm really, really aware of the power requirements. I've got an old laptop that has a dying battery and needs to be plugged in over and over again. We were definitely worried about our batteries this past winter, more because we don't have lithiums on Mischief, and we just got very used to the ease with which lithiums just kind of expand your capability we have on Calypso. The sun wasn't as strong in the Bahamas. We had more rain days, that sort of thing. But we certainly were a little more careful with our electricity use on Mischief than we were on Calypso. I do have an iPad with an external keyboard, and it uses far less power, but I have a problem with typing on it, but also the idea that I have to transfer things from the iPad to my computer to be able to put things on the blog. And that's a mental hurdle that I am having a hard time overcoming. Making time and space for hobbies on board, and the space can be mental, it can be physical, whatever way you want to put it, it enhances our entire cruising experience. Jeremy has met people because he foils. My writing is the basis for this blog, which allows us to document the cruise, and we hear from people who read it and they seem to like the stuff that we're sharing. Hobbies are not just a way to fill time, but they can make lots of aspects of your life better, including going cruising. I can't wait to share an anchorage with you, and you can maybe introduce me to your hobby, and we can have that whole conversation as we get to toast to our incredible good fortune at being able to live this amazing lifestyle. Thank you so much for listening to the Boat Galley podcast. We love hearing from our listeners. We love it when you don't forget to subscribe. We love it when you leave us a 5-star review because it helps other people find us. However you do it, I hope you have the most spectacular week.